Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Nerd Herd Comic Book Club, your number one stop for stellar reviews of volumes, arcs, or stories that us or yourselves choose. You can find us live every Wednesday on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch, and the replay on all podcast networks. Take a seat, get yourselves and your opinions ready, as it's time to join the herd. But first, please put your hands together for your hosts, Shane, Phil, and Scott, as they kick off this week's discussion. Hello everyone, welcome to the Nerd Herd Comic Book Club. My name is Scott, and I am joined by Philly Willy.
Hello. No, sorry, I've got a new one. Sup, nerds?
Oh, nice.
I ain't copyrighting this.
Shaney Waney.
Hoi hoi.
And this week, we are talking about my pick. Oh my god, a book that blows me away every time I read it. It is The Many Deaths of Laila Starr. Today we are covering issues 1 to 5. This is the entire story from Boom Studios in 2001. Written by Ram V, art by Filipe Andrade, colors by Inez Amora, and letters by Andworld Design. There we go. I feel like I've gone way too quick into that. There's a couple of people watching in the chat. Only one saying hi at the moment. It is Martin. Evening, lads. Evening, Martin. Thank you for coming along. Kevin's here as well. Hey, everyone. He did message earlier saying he may show up if he hasn't dozed off. So it's nice to see
reading this book.
But come on, Jesus.
When I seen that message, I thought that's what he meant. You know, if I can stay awake after reading this, God, I will stay here.
I can't deal with this. So, okay.
I'm still taken back by the fact that you were blown away by this book.
I am blown away. You were just dead inside. Anyway, let me just tell you. Tell you about this book. The Many Deaths of Laila Starr follows the firing of Death from her job of being Death, from the big Hinduism office in the sky. So she's lost her job. She's sent into a mortal body, the body of a woman named Laila Starr, and this has happened because she has learned that there is someone who has created immortality. So initially, she makes it her goal to kill this person who's created immortality, so that she can get her job back, essentially. And then it becomes a bit of a life journey of philosophy and just general emotional stuff. Oh my god. Anyway, we go through a lot of things. We see a lot of different perspectives, and we learn a lot of things. I'm worried it's going to be me really trying to hype this book up, but that's it. That's all I'm saying for now.
I'm just worried for you to try and make this last for 1 hour, because this book is 10 minutes discussion, and that's about it.
But 10 minutes to read, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm already 4 minutes in, so 6 minutes left to talk about this book, and then we'll go about next week's.
Pete's here. Hi, Pete. Thank you for joining me.
Sorry, Pete, that's been copywritten by Phil, that intro. You're not allowed to say sup nerds anymore. You have to send Phil some royalties every time you say that now.
Iconic, but that is mine.
So I was really excited. I was really, really excited to come do this show today. But that has already been quashed and thwarted, ruined, if you will. So I'll just ask. I'll start with Shane. He's been the least savage so far about this, so I would love to get Shane's opinion first, please, on The Many Deaths of Laila Starr. Go.
It was just a bit of a nothing story, wasn't it? It was just like nothing happened. Nothing was achieved.
That is all we need.
It just got to the end, and it's like there was no payoff, there was no dramatic ending, there was no achievement. She doesn't get her job back, like nothing. I mean, there was no consequences to her losing her job. People still died. Like nothing. It was. One of my notes is it's a cute, simple, forgettable, nothing story. Like I didn't hate it. It just was a nothingness of a story.
I get the meaning behind the thing. I get the fact that this guy chases immortality, essentially, kind of like, what's the word? Like, loses his relationship with his son in search of this immortality, and then realizes one day that death happens to us all. I'll go out to the cinema, eat some popcorn. I'll do things. I'll live my life, and I'll die, knowing that I actually solved the crisis or solved the issue of internal life. But I mean, that's it. Like 5 issues. That was done in the last issue. What about the other 4 beforehand? It's it's a one shot.
You're seeing this boy's life. You're seeing this guy, grow up and go through the stages of life, and this. I don't know. I wanted to save this bit for the story part. I'm really trying to, and I will. Let's talk about the art.
Okay.
Let's start there. I know Shane's going to hate it the most, so let's go with that first. This is the rise and fall of Scott's shelf, everyone. Okay,
this
go,
happened one
Shane.
time before, didn't it? There was one book before, Scott. You were really excited
Yeah,
to read.
and you wonder why I don't want 7 secrets on this show.
Well, I'm a fan of that, so you've got my back in there.
Right. Okay. Wait. Right. Sonic. I quite enjoyed this. Am I on my own on this one? No, you're not, Martin. I'm with you, and I wish you were here this week to back me up. And Pete's saying, "Wow, Savage! This book got huge praise from some. I thought it was okay."
I wonder if that huge praise is one of those scenarios where the hype kind of built it up. Because I bought the trade without having read this book. Like I bought it based on people how highly they rated that.
I got it as well.
And then I read it.
God, I didn't.
That's the thing. I read it, and then I kind of regret buying it.
But think, right, this book as well has just been released as a hardcover as well. Hardcover, a deluxe version of this story. It must have some weight. It must have a fan base. It must for Boom to kind of bypass a 7 Secrets deluxe to bring this out instead. So.
Well, they're probably just trying to make their money back, so they've got to bring out as many prints as they can to get someone to buy it.
They're trying to make more. This book went huge. Where's Comics versus the World? He'll back me up on this. Anyway, what do you think of the art? What do you think of the art?
Oh my god, atrocious! Just insulting to the concept of the book. Like the concept is great. I'll give you that. The concept is great. It's like Death gets fired, has to live as a mortal. I'm down for that. That's a great concept. If you told me that was the concept of this book, I would have been so happy. And then there's nothing. There's no consequences to her not working. If she had lost her job as Death, because like rather than the boy Darius is going to create immortality, rather than that, he's already done it. So Death has lost her job. She now lives as a mortal in a world where there is no death. So hence the many deaths of Laila Starr. So no matter what she does, she can't die. And then she has to.
It's not that she can't die. It's that
I know
the Prahan, I think his name is, kept bringing her back.
Exactly. So then their work. So Death was still a consequence of life. So her job was completely meaningless. So her as a character, nothing. Don't need her. Why is she in the book? Darius is creating immortality. Doesn't do anything with it. Nothing. Why is he in the book? So you take out the 2 things that don't need to be in the book. You don't have a book. Why does this book exist? There's nothing. Do you know what I mean? Like there's no consequences. There's no. Had this been Death goes to Earth, Death is now mortal, you can't die, blah blah blah, fine. Or had it been Death goes to Earth to try and stop Darius from creating immortality, she teaches him that Death has to happen as a consequence of life. You can't truly live if there's no death, vice versa. And then maybe at the end of the book, he becomes the new god of death because he learns a lesson. Maybe something would have happened, but nothing. There was, unfortunately for me, it was just a baseline of a comic book.
It was a
When I said about, like, I get that it's a very spiritual, deep, meaningful kind of book. We'll say deep. It's not very deep. I actually found
Yeah,
it
it
quite
is.
hollow. So,
very deep.
Yeah,
I said the first
trying to be deep.
It's the
Yeah,
deepest.
trying
the
to
deepest
be
book.
deep.
it's
About as deep
trying
as
to,
the shallow end.
yeah, it's trying to make a really a good point, and it does. But the point it's making has been made plenty of times before, and it's a simple point to make. You know, death comes to us all, and you live your life, and you don't just like sacrifice all your time to try and find eternal life. It's never going to happen. Blah blah blah. Right. So that's why I said this should be a one shot. The first issue was good. You find out what happens to death. Unfortunately, this poor girl, Laila Starr, just dies, and you don't hear anything about her. We don't know nothing about Laila Starr, by the way. This is not Laila Starr. You don't know nothing about Laila Starr. She died in like the first 3 pages, and then death kind of, I don't know, goes into her spiritually, and then just keeps dying and coming back 16 years later. I just there was an issue that was narrated by a cigarette.
Yeah, that was.
There was an issue narrated by a cigarette.
Yeah,
Scott,
but it was clever. It was the perspective of the cigarette, and it's showing how it's showing like the life of this cigarette. And
2 minutes.
you know, you guys have really like frazzled me now.
Can I just say, I'm not dogging on it too much. I think it's a perfectly suitable, okay story. It's not something I was excited to read. It wasn't fun. There was no fun parts in it.
No,
It was just telling a story that could have been told in like 100 less pages than it was.
Like you said, Phil, one and done. Like that first issue was really good. She gets called into the office. We don't need death anymore because immortality is coming. You're going down to Earth. Enjoy life as a human. And she's like, actually, I'm going to go down there. I'm going to kill that child. So they send her down. She goes to the hospital, tries to kill the kid. Second thoughts, actually, I'm not going to do it. Gets chased out of the hospital, dies, bang, instant death. The end of the story. That's a really good story of death, you know, like fired from being a god, becomes human and dies again in less than a day. And then she's straight back up there. You know, that would have been a fun little story in an anthology book.
See, that's where I think they tried with like to inject a little bit of humor. That idea of I don't know if it was God or whoever it was the boss up above, and the other guy, I terrible remembering the names, the guy with the flame head, and then the girl who replaced her. Like they tried to have a little bit of humor where they didn't like her very much, you know, but it wasn't the place for it. Like, I don't know what point this book was trying to make, other than the one I did make, which is a very simple point to make. And art wise, I remember we read that Onslaught book. I don't know if it was James or Lewis picked that time for one of the two of them.
James.
And it was horrendous then because I gave it a bit of a ball, thinking it's not that's bad. It's like it's just unusual to see Captain America and Black Widow drawn in that style. I didn't like it. This art suits indie books in general, and it does suit this. However, it's not pretty. The colors make it look better than what it is. It's not like it can't be known for a pretty looking book that you keep your eyes on for more than what it takes you to read the little space
I
book.
don't care that this book is not clean and tidy and in proportion and all this. It suits the story. I mean, it's like it's a Hindu-based, kind of story. And I don't know what it was. I think it was just, it felt like there was freedom to the art. I really enjoyed the kind of psychedelic colors that we'd get now and again.
Yes, that's my, like last week whenever you brought the star attention on the show, you said there's lots of pinks and purples. I should like this.
Yeah.
And there are lots of pinks and purples, but not had they kept that theme through the whole book, it would have been better. because whenever those kind of colors weren't used, when it was like kind of a bit muted,
Yeah.
where it wasn't psychedelic, I think they should have just kept that theme the whole way throughout. Just keep it psychedelic, because when it wasn't, it didn't do anything for me, unfortunately.
Okay.
Sorry.
That's all right. I really, really enjoyed the perspective of the cigarette. Seeing that kind of art was kind of cool, and just seeing that in each panel, it just being there, and you just see, it just burn further and further down, so you kind of know time is running out, and it kind of reminded me of like a mayfly. They only live for like a day, that kind of thing. So it was like, so yes, it's a cigarette having sentient thought, but it's a comic book. It's pretend. So, it's interesting to see a writer think, what would a cigarette think in this situation? What's going on? And yes, the
You'd
cigarette
probably think,
is,
"Holy crap, I'm on fire! Put me out." That's what it would
The-
probably be thinking.
the cigarette
Stop
is the
sucking on my
main.
butt.
The cigarette is the main part of that issue, because that's the reason why Layla dies in that issue. The apartment burns. She's there. She comes back to life. Like 16 years later, whatever it was. And so there is kind of that theme. I always think, so like whatever the issue was focusing on. So that one was the cigarettes. That's how she died. The next issue was the house. She died in that house, or the temple, or
The store,
whatever it
wasn't
was.
it?
Yeah, the Chinese temple, because the house fell through. She died in the house. So there was all this. There was a theme for every single thing. Speaking of point of view as well, there was a couple panels in the first issue where you could see it from her point of view, and I quite liked it. Around the panel, you saw her fringe and her hair go around, and you see her arms like batting stuff out of the way.
That was cool.
Someone sent that in as their page, which we should look at now, to be honest, to stop you guys from talking. So Pete has said, Scott, I love you. And in brackets, just trying to bring you some positive to cling to, but thank you very much, Pete. So yeah, let's look at some pages. We have we'll go with Phil first.
Yeah, again, this was just to do with the colours more than anything, and obviously the use of the smoke. And I kind of wanted to highlight the fact that the speech bubbles are obviously have smoke at the the top and the bottom, and whatever else, like being narrated by the cigarette. Even though this is probably my worst issue, I didn't like this issue. Didn't know where it was going really. But I like the colours, like the effect of the smoke. Yeah, this is one of the more bearable pages, I suppose. An actual fact, I was going to pick another one, but I think it's been picked twice by other people. So,
all right,
I like this too.
Cool. Okay. So we'll do my page, because Shane, yours matches with some of the viewers. Here's mine. This is just after Layla dies for the second time in issue 2, where she's dragged down by all these kind of like ghostly spirits and drowned. But the crow, the funeral crow that she's been kind of talking with and you're just hanging out with for that issue, dives down into the water, saves her. She's like, "Oh, thanks for saving me." And he goes, "No, I'm not saving you. I only carry the dead," kind of thing. So I love the top 3 panels, the kind of the swooshing into the water, and the way that the air gets dragged down into the water, and then just the reddy pink in the rest of the panels, and it's just how it's just a solid color. Really attracted me to that. And then the fact that the crow is huge, and it kind of brings this kind of like mythological vibe to it. Really enjoyed that as well. So
Yeah, it's really cool. Again, the colours make that page look really well.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Phil. Shane?
I think this is the page before, isn't it? Where she is
Yes.
dragged under by the souls of the people that have died in the water. I did quite like that she remembered, oh, I've actually killed quite a few people in this water. And then all the souls are like, oh, yeah, you did. Come down here and join us. I thought that was pretty cool. But I do like how the souls look under the water. Kind of like misty, jellyfish, smoky, ethereal beings. It looks really nice.
It's awesome. It's really good. So Liam and Martin also chose this page. So this is what Liam had to say about this page. I was torn between this page and the following page, the one I just showed. I went with this because I feel it's one of the best illustrations of the point of the book. Even death is beautiful because without death you wouldn't live your life to the fullest, and this page is a depiction of Layla drowning, yet it's such a pretty page. I also like that in the top panel you can see red through the water, and then again as a reflection on the bubbles. This gives the feeling of Layla losing her life, as in the next page we see her picked up by a funeral crow, revealing the sky to be a block colour of red, telling us Layla is now in the realm of the dead. Nice. Cool. And Martin picked this page as well. Yeah, so he said this page was a standout to me because of the way of the soul she had taken as death were pulling her to drown to her own death. A very poetic moment, and the art was stunning.
Nice.
There we go. And we also have another page from Kev, the Nerd Herd's resident artist. Let's see what he picked. Here it is. So this is what I was talking about earlier with the perspectives, the point of view. You can just see Layla's kind of fringe and her hair, like in the sides and the top of each panel. And Kev said, I really like the first person perspective as Layla runs through the hospital with the cartoonishly long arms. I think it would look great in animation. I don't know why, but those arms made me think of the Spider-Verse movie, Miles Morales, where like he's running around. I don't know what it was about that. It just reminded me of that. It just took me to that.
Scott, I'll put you on the spot here.
Okay.
Do you prefer this or Snot Girl?
This purely because it has, I feel like, quite a mature message, and I felt very. At the end of it, I had a moment. There was a tear. There was, I just felt. I felt, and I think that's the big difference between this and Snot Girl and many of the other books that I've read. I'm currently trying to shift off a ton of my books, a ton of my collection and stuff like that, and this is one that I will keep forever because of just how I felt. Just closed the book, sat there, and just was like whoa.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's good.
Yeah. There we go, Phil. Does that answer that?
I mean, they're both just as good and as bad as each other, I think.
Yeah. Okay. Sonic has said, I had a few tears after reading Snot Girl, but I think as in laughing tears, not weepy tears. Yeah. Okay. Writing then. I already have your opinions on that. I don't know where to go. I honestly, you guys have actually thrown me. Legit. I was like, this is legit what happened, right? When I was ready to come upstairs into this room to start the show with you guys, walking upstairs. Right, see you later, Amy. I'm gonna have a great time talking about this book. I reckon it's going to get really high on the leaderboard. I'm really excited. I love this book. Can't wait to have a good chat with the boys. And you've ruined my night.
Oh, don't say that.
No. I'm joking. But okay,
this is a great book.
Comics.
10 out of 10. I love this. This is fantastic.
No
Best
good
book of the
comics.
season so far.
Welcome, by the way. And they've said this was such a powerful read. Definitely a top favorite of mine from last year. I think you guys just read it wrong.
that's what I was going to come up with. I mean, I think this is the kind of book where maybe you have to be in the mood for something like this.
And to be fair, you were in kind of a bit of a rush to read it.
Yeah,
Still, weren't you?
I've had a fairly busy week myself. So I only read this like 8 o'clock. I just finished it just after 8 o'clock tonight, and yeah, maybe you just have to be in this frame of mind that that to make you appreciate something. But I wasn't feeling it. It didn't hook me, didn't grab me.
Hmm.
I was just left pondering the fact, like, why was there such a hype for this book? Like, again, I get the meaning. I just don't think it's all that deep, and it took a long time to get there, and that's where I feel the disappointment. But again, maybe if I took some more time
Hmm.
to read it properly, as you say, maybe I'd appreciate it more. But for the nature of the Nerd Herd, we're a fast-moving, fast-paced machine. New book every week, of course, and this is what happens.
Sometimes
Yeah.
it is.
I wanted more from it. I was expecting more from it. Like, as I was reading along and it was going, and I'm like, okay, so she's going to meet him throughout his life at key moments. I get
Hmm.
that. His first death, his first breakup. Like, I get where she's meeting him and why she's meeting them there. But then you're like, okay, so she got fired because Darius is going to create immortality. She's the reason he creates immortality. So had she done nothing, she wouldn't have been fired. So it's like this perpetual loop that she
Yeah, but
caused.
she was never like she didn't get herself fired, and it's all like the prophecy, isn't it? So it was just like they had just it says here that immortality is going to get made, so no reason for you to work anymore. See ya, and that's what it was, isn't it? But then it was interesting to see. She got fired from a job because the prophecy said immortality was being made, but then the reason immortality was made was because she upset
got
the
fired.
body. Yeah, and yeah, pretty much.
One issue done. Hey. So to me, it's just again, my issue is the first issue is really good. The last issue really explained everything that we kind of already knew, but done a really good way of telling that story. So what were the other 3 issues in between? That's where my gripe is, because
was
I don't
just-
think they offered anything. I know what you're saying about they met in time, and obviously like Death and Darius were like linked through his entire life essentially.
Yeah.
The minute he was born, but I'm not saying I want the scientific reason of why she kept dropping in on him, like why she died, and why it was 8 years later, why it was 12 years later, why it was 16. I don't need to know the reasons for that, but these things just happened, and I didn't have the emotion. I didn't have the emotional pull. It didn't deliver that on an emotional level. The book was fine. It was okay. I just again maybe I'm dead inside. I don't feel emotional for characters. I don't know. But I just the 3 issues in between. There's actually one issue. Maybe it was the cigarette one, or it could have been another one where things were just happening and there was no real reason for it. And it's just, what is this? I think it might have been issue 2. I'm just sitting reading, thinking, like, why am I reading this? What is this?
Because Scott has chosen the book and
Yeah.
and demands it.
Yeah.
But this could have redeemed itself in the final issue for me. Like, as it was going, it was fine. It was pleasant. I got the meaning of it. I understood where they were trying to lead me, and I thought it was going somewhere else. Again, that's probably on me. I expect things from books. You read so many, you just come to expect things. So I thought maybe it's going to redeem itself in that final issue. Right as Darius is dying, she's going to become deaf again, and she's going to be the one that takes him. And it would have all been a lesson for Death, because no one liked her up there. She had become too shut off from the world because she had killed billions upon billions of people at this point. She was just numb to it. So they wanted her to feel again, like she did with the very first life she had to take. So this was her redemption arc, and right at the end she becomes deaf again, leads him over to the other side herself, then goes back to the office, and they say well done and welcome her back. And that would have redeemed it for me, because that would have given her story arc completion, and it would have had a reason for everything to have happened. But I was just lacking that purpose and that reason.
I think, and this is what I was going to go for earlier, but I decided to hold off till now. I think this whole story, and the reason it's 5 issues is because it goes through and subtly touches on the 5 stages of grief. And those stages are the theme of each issue. So I've got them here, all 5 stages. First of all, there's denial. I think, she didn't want to lose her job. She didn't want to be in this body. She didn't want to have this person be born to stop her from having a job, from stopping her from doing the only thing she's ever done and ever known. The second thing is then anger. I'm taking that as Darius being, upset that, what was his name? Bardan, the big tall gardener guy with the jackfruit, that he died, and he ran off into the crowd, into the funeral, wasn't happy that one of his first best friends essentially has passed away, and the spirits dragging Laila down. Anger, you've killed me, you're the reason I'm not alive, kind of thing. Next, bargaining. That's in the issue with the cigarette. This is, I think, he was it Zafar died, and he lost his girlfriend then, and I feel like this was a kind of I think it was bargaining in a loose sense with this, but I just want everything back to the way it was. Please give me my friend, please give me my girlfriend. I just want my life back to the way it was. Then you have depression. That's the next one for issue 4, and I think the big theme of that then is where we meet Darius as he's 20 odd years old. He's lost his wife, he's got his little boy, and I think that is just the definition for a lot of people of depression. That is pretty much a rock bottom stage for you. And then last, then issue 5, stage 5, acceptance. He lost his wife, decided to try and live life. He wanted to make amends with Laila. He invented immortality, but then realized, death needs to happen. You can't live without death. So, and so that's why he didn't, tell the world that I've invented this thing that will keep everyone alive forever. And he just accepted everything and just went along with it.
That seems fair. It does seem to kind of coincide with each issue, as you said. And if you want to read a comic book about that, that's good. I just don't know if I want to read
Deep,
a
man.
comic book about that, but it is deep.
But it's not deep. I mean, the concept that they're trying to be deep. This is superficial deepness. This is the writer thinking he's deep. He's been told he's deep, and so he put it down, and he's like, "Oh, I'm so deep. This is going to impact so many people's lives." And it's like, no, dude, that's superficial. You are superficially deep. These are things. Accepting death. Everyone, we know we've done this. We've done this in every form of media for the past 100 years of recorded visual media. Do you know what I mean? Everything it's been done.
Yeah.
So adding the aspect of the deities and trying to make it a supernatural thing, it just missed the mark. You could have made this. You could have done this with the same concept, the same through line. You could have just made it a little bit more fun. You could have made it a little bit more interesting. You could have had more interactions with the deities up in the office, watching Laila as she's dying over and over again and having to do the paperwork to bring her back. And it could have been something. We saw that glimpse of the office life of the deities. Now that's a book I'd read, like the deity office. That sounds fun. Paperwork and meetings and the boring, mundane stuff, but they're all super powerful gods doing this. That's an interesting concept.
You want a spiritual comic book of like Ricky Gervais, The Office, don't you? The
Absolutely,
Office.
100%. You have Ricky Gervais as God, and then you have Stephen Merchant as Jesus, and then you have all the other deities below them. You have Zeus pops up for a meeting, and all the gods pop in, and it would just be so much fun.
That
But
would be
this
fun.
was just, this is lacking fun. And I know it's not meant to be
It's
fun.
not supposed to be fun.
No, I know it's not supposed to be fun.
You can't criticize
but-
it for something it's not supposed to be.
No, but you can sprinkle a little bit of enjoyment in a book. That's
But there's loads of books like that. So why follow suit? You know, why give you what every other book is giving you? This is giving us something else. There was hype for a reason.
no, but you say that loads of books are hyped. Terrible books are hyped all the time because they have to hype them because they know they're not good. So they hype them. That's how they get them to sell. So it's
Big
false
stock up.
hype. Like something is killing the children. These things are hyped to get people to buy them. You know, it's just how it works. It's how the industry works. It's all about advertising.
I think Connie has a comment there that she said she read this book last year and she
Mhm.
enjoyed it, but felt she maybe missed something along the way. And that's kind of where I am at. I feel like I've missed something because everyone else has it. And I don't. Like you have it, Martin has it, and other like I remember all the people in the community on YouTube and Instagram over the last year and a half. They've raved about this book. So whatever you guys got from it, I didn't, and that's just where I'm at, and I'm struggling to find what that thing is. To be honest,
I mean, we've all been through this when it comes to getting the book for the Nerd Herd, and I can't think of one right now, but there definitely has been one where we've all gone, yeah, the hype just ruined it, and I understand completely where you guys are coming from, but I think I read this, I pre-ordered it. I think a very rare situation for me, reading a book as soon as I get it. This was one that I did. So maybe for me it was, I just went into it. Yes, people were excited about it coming out, but then there weren't many reviews, or people weren't going, I've read this, you must read this is amazing. Like one story, again, this is by Boom Studios, that I was really, really excited for, but then was really, really let down, was a book called Origins, or Origin. Concept sounded amazing, synopsis sounded amazing, but just really, really lost it for me. So yeah, I totally understand how you guys are feeling.
With that, I mean, I like Ram V, I should say. Stuff isn't always great, like his current Venom stuff isn't great, but I like Ram V, like the Swamp Thing, like Detective Comics. I haven't read any of his indie stuff, to be brutally honest. It's the first indie book of his I've read. This is something that, as you said with Origin, it was a good concept, a good idea, but it was maybe just, it wasn't unraveled in a good way. And again, maybe some people love Origin, and that's where I am with this. It's a good concept, a good idea, but he just didn't, beef it up or something enough to kind of go get me into this type of thing. And I'm glad it's worked for some people, and I'm glad you enjoy it. I'm glad you've read it twice now since you bought it, which is good.
Yeah.
So you've got your money's worth.
I never reread stuff. So.
I know. And I knew you liked this book because also I remember at the time you bought it, you did read it straight away, and then when you picked it for the Nerd Herd, it's like, this is obviously, Scott likes this book. We're going to read it again. And I was looking forward to it. I had bought the book as well, not long after it came out, and I was excited to get it. But now I just feel like saying, like, I should really offload this to somebody. Shane, do you like this?
Send it to Scott. He'll reread it. He'll have a reading copy.
Of two
and
copies.
Shelf
He'll
copy.
Yeah.
And one he just puts in his bag.
Oh yeah, one in my
right?
bag. Whenever I fancy a little weep wherever I am, I'll just get my reading copy out and get it. Peter's said a good comment here. He said, everyone has their own tastes. That's why shows like this work. Thank you very much. We're not all meant to love the same stuff. For me, this was a decent read, but it wasn't earth-shattering either. It's a 7. Already scoring the book. Okay, great. I'll note that down. It's a 7.
Let's talk him down.
Yeah, it's a 7 from Pete there. Yeah, I mean, I speak to people before. I speak to people about comics. When they ask me, what do you like doing? What are you into? What are your hobbies? Isn't it? And I go, I like comics. I like playing D&D. I like games. I like going out. And when the discussion comes up for comics, they always go, oh, like Batman and Spider-Man and things like that. And I'm like, like, yes, but like, and then I go, have you ever read a comic? And they go, no, I don't like superheroes. And I went, no, that's not the question. Have you ever read a comic? Like, I'm not asking if you've ever read a superhero comic. There is a book for every single person in the world. Think of any topic. I don't care if you've never read a comic in your life. You think of a topic that may interest you, you will find a comic that will interest you based on the things you like. And for me, I'm hoping people have learned this over the years, but I'm a thinker. I'm emotional. I'm, and this was a proper. This book is up my street. So Pete's comment is very valid. This book is for me. This book's for Martin. This book is kind of for Pete. Doesn't sound like this book is for you guys at all. Maybe ish. You have definitely entertained reading it, but only for this show. But would you have ever read it not for this show?
I would have, because I bought it. Again, I'm not going to reread it. I'm going to be honest. I feel like I remember last season when I dolled on Kingdom Come for a bit. I was kind of forced to reread that when she had bought it for my birthday, I think. So I had no choice. But I actually learned to like that. I don't think I'm going to reread this. And as I said, about kind of being in the mood or kind of being in the mindset of reading this kind of story, maybe it'll be different. I don't have the appetite to reread it. But I would have read it if it wasn't for this, because I bought it. But then I've bought like tons of other books that are still sealed, so who knows? But I've got it eventually, I suppose.
Yeah.
I probably wouldn't. Well, it depends if I had read a synopsis and if the synopsis tricked me into making it sound like, Death loses her job and has to stop immortality from being created. It could have tricked me, but no, I wouldn't have read it. I wouldn't reread it, but I'm not disappointed that I read it. It's what we've read some books and I'm like, I can't believe I read that. This isn't one of those. I'm not like, oh my god, I can't believe I read that. No, it's just it passed the time. I read it, got my I was all ready. Monday night, made a hot chocolate.
Set the scene.
Yeah, it was my reading time, so I had my hot chocolate ready to go. I got my iPad and I got it all set up, and I was all comfy on the sofa in my house coat, all snug, and I read it. And so I was in the mood to read. So it wasn't something I rushed through. It wasn't something I had to just get done. I had time set aside, and I read the book. And when I finished, I was like, oh, okay. I wasn't like, oh my god, I can't believe I read that. Oh my god, I'd never want to see that again. I was just like, oh, it just sort of ended. It just fizzled out. So I think for me, I was just a bit just let down by the end of it.
Would somber be the right word?
Indifferent. Like
just neutral.
Yeah, neutral. More like I felt like I did before I started. I did like nothing had changed throughout that reading experience. I don't mean that in a bad way, but my heart rate didn't go up. My palms didn't get clammy. I didn't get teary-eyed. I didn't laugh. Nothing happened. I was literally like this, just reading, drinking my hot chocolate, and just waiting for things to happen, and they just wasn't happening. I was, maybe I too am dead inside, like Phil.
You definitely are. But just when you made that comment, Scott, about people who always Batman and Spider-Man comics, that's what they think comics are. I totally get that, because I get the same thing. I'm like, well, no, there's tons of genres. Every genre you can think of exists in comics.
Yeah,
everything. And I get that. But when you talk about deep and meaningful comics, this is not deep in comparison to The Dark Knight Returns from last week. That's a deep, layered comic.
Deep as in millions of words.
No, well, yes, okay, deeper in that respect. But also just the layers of kind of motivation you get for Batman. There was nothing like that here. I'm not saying give us that, but I'm just saying that was better.
Yeah. I just wanted Laila to, I wanted her to go up at the end and be someone different at the end, and be just changed. Just in a different way, like she just walks off, and you just expect her to just carry on dying and being brought back. And I don't know. By the end of this book, I don't know her. I don't know where she's off to. I don't know what she's going to do next. Now that she doesn't have Darius, It is up for interpretation, but I don't have anything to interpret. There wasn't anything in this book to tell me where she is now going. Is she now going to be a better person? Is she now going to help people? I thought she was going to stay at Darius's place and carry on taking the animals in. But she just walks off, and it's not even like, you know, Littlest Hobo where she's off to another town to help the next person. She didn't do anything to help anybody along the way. So I just don't know where the character is going after that final page. And when you read a standalone book, by the end of that book you have a good idea of the main character, so then in your mind you're making up scenarios at the end. You're like, oh, they're probably going to go do this, that, and this. I didn't do that at the end. I have no idea where she is.
It just makes you wonder, what was the point? Like, did she convince Darius not to use the immortality? She didn't.
No,
He decided
no.
upon himself. So
Yeah.
that's, you know, it's not a Laila Starr story, it's a Darius story.
Exactly.
But then
He got it.
Yeah, I get that, but it's just like, so, you know, even Darius, like, it's just, he just lived, invented this, cured some cats and dogs, and then died. You know, there's something missing. I think there's just something that make me want to care about what actually happened.
I was hoping.
Go ahead.
There's no what? No, there's no what?
There's no like ramifications. There's no consequence. There's nothing. Any action that's taken in this book has nothing. You know, Darius didn't think of Laila Starr and decide not to use the immortality. He came upon that himself. But we all have that realization that, you know, there's no life without death. I don't know. It's just something not quite there.
I just wanted, when he invented immortality, it should have been something more than just colors in a shoebox. You know, he should have said, I did invent immortality. My son, I will live on through my son, and he through his son, and
That's
he
deep.
through his son. That's deep, but this was colors in a shoebox. Darius invented colors in a shoebox.
It reminded me of the.
But how do you draw immortality? You know?
Well, exactly. The immortality should have been a concept. It should have been a photo album. It should have been memories. It should have been anything other than an actual invention. You know,
It reminded me of the suitcase in Pulp Fiction. You don't see what's in it. You see the gold glow. That's what it was like.
Yeah, and that was a cheap cop out. You don't even see him like create it, but it would have been, you know, I am immortal. I have a son. I will live on through him. He will tell his kids about me. I will live on.
Because there was actually a passage. I'm terrible with memory at the minute. There was a point, I think maybe in issue 4, and they mentioned that about the people you leave behind and the memories and all this kind of stuff. That's the immortality. You know.
Yep.
You want to live a life to the point where people remember you, and I get that Darius finds this out maybe a bit too late, and that's why his son he kind of sacrificed his relationship with his son trying to find this immortality, and he works out at some point. But it's just like that is it. You don't need the shoebox, and the idea of the shoebox floating in the ocean, I don't really get what that's meant to symbolize at the end. Just. Like, why
because the water's going to make that all soggy and release immortality into the world. So did Laila Starr want immortality released into the world?
That's what I was thinking. Like, that's going to get into the water, we're going to get into the clouds, it's going to rain, we're going to drink that. We're all going to live forever. We're going to have a world of 50 billion gazillion people in 100 years' time. You know?
I just assumed it was just going to sink. I honestly feel like it's this tangible thing, you know.
And the other thing we could argue as well that was deep is the fact that they reference the fact that they only can, like, in terms of like a person's funeral, even though they've died, like, that's the only thing they have control over, is that in terms of how they want to be buried or the ceremony or whatever, like, you know. And I get that too. That's another deep thing in this book. But again, once they use the word deep, it all just feels very shallow at the same time. Like, there just wasn't enough there. Sorry, Scott.
It's fine.
You should approach it in a way where, like last week, and this is, I'm referencing Dark Knight Returns again because I feel like, you know, we need to fill the time somehow because, you know, this book is I'm joking. But like, I was prepared for you to score that low and dog on it, and I was like That's my book. That's okay. I'm comfortable with it. So I hope it's the same for you. Like you're comfortable with this.
Yeah,
And
no, I am, and it's just the thing about there's a book for everyone. That's all that keeps ringing in my head, and unfortunately, this isn't the book for you two. But I've seen people. Some people have messaged in with scores because they can't turn up tonight, and and this seems to be a book that just it has a bit of a spectrum of opinions. You get some like classics, and everyone loves it. And like you have like 4 people in the world that don't. But then you have the same thing for the other way. Loads of people hate the book, Doctor Strange Origins, and then there's going to be some one person that or a few people that like that book. But I feel like this is a spectrum of opinions and scores. I don't think we're not going to be all the way over here. We're not going to be all the way over here. It just seems to be quite. No one is down. No one is like 1, 2s, 3s, 4s, whatever. I'm hoping. But as I say it, I'm really hoping. But I think there's like you start to go up by 5s. You're not going to get everyone with 10s, but you get like I think a nice 6, 7 kind of range. That's what I'm thinking anyway. And now that we're talking about it, we may as well go on to thoughts and scores. May as well while we're here. When in Rome. So everyone who is currently watching and you've read along, please give us your score and make it as honest as you would like. And as you all know, we add it all together. We get a average score of yours, and then we add it to ours. I get the final score and see where it lands on our top 10 leaderboard. If it lands on the top 10 leaderboard, it may land somewhere else. So, Philip, would you mind kicking us off?
Okay, so I know we kind of spent the last 52 minutes almost dogging on this book, but I didn't hate it. As Shannon mentioned when he read it, I read it and I didn't hate it. I didn't love it. It didn't really do anything for me. It didn't give me that emotional pull. And I think possibly me maybe not being in the mood for a book like this is one reason. I think the hype is another. I kind of fail to see, when I say hype, I don't mean like this, like how much the issue is worth. I'm talking about the actual story and the hype of the story. I don't think it's as good as what people kind of portray it to be. Maybe I've just missed it. I like the first issue and I like the last issue. The other 3 in between just kind of were just slow and there was no real payoff for it. The art, again, I like the colors and some of the pages there were fine, but some of the pages were quite ugly too. But I agree with you as well, Scott. It does suit this kind of story, this kind of book. I don't know. I'm thinking of 5, but then I'm going to go 5.5. I'm going to just up it a bit because I like you, Scott, and I like that you like this book, and I like that Martin likes this book.
I'm worth half a point. Thank you.
Yeah. You're worth 10 points, but let's be honest, I give us a 10. I can never have my integrity is ruined. So
fair enough. Okay, thank you very much. Got a few scores in the chat. Great. And over to Shane.
I think this book has a really good foundation. The premise of Death losing her job, fantastic. The premise of a human guy creating immortality to spite her after their many meetings throughout his life, great premise. I just think the bits in between are just not done to my personal liking. I would have liked it to have a bit more of an emotional punch, a bit more of a spiritual punch, and just a bit more weight to this would have been like up here for me, and with an ending that had some sort of escalation rather than a sort of fizzle out. I think the ending just happened. The ending just is like, oh, Darius is dead, Death walks off, that's it. I wanted her to be the one to take him over, to be the one to, I don't know, it's such a shame because I was in the mood for it. And the first issue, the first few pages of Death up in the tower, the ivory tower, I love that. As soon as she got to Earth, I kind of just started to lose interest. The art, I'm not a fan of this art style. As you know, from multiple times we've talked about this kind of art. It doesn't matter how many beautiful colors you put over it, you can't hide this kind of style from me. I'm just not a fan of it. It's just too wavy and just too. It's like this, like arms and legs everywhere, and I can't get down with that. But I think I must have liked it more than Phil, because I have brought my score down by 0.5 point, but it's a 6 from me.
Cool. Great. There we go. So we have a few scores in the chat. We've got Connie. She's given it a 7.5. Pete is giving it a 7. Kevin's a 7.5. And we got one from Martin, which I'll read out in a sec as well. We've also got some from people who couldn't make it tonight. So they've sent a score in as well. But for me, this is the book for me. This is why I read. It's these kind of thought-provoking, philosophical kind of vibes that I really enjoy when it comes to me just having time for myself and reading. I found this book incredibly humbling. I really hope that I'm right in the the themes of each issue with the 5 stages of grief, and if I am right, I think that's incredibly clever. And personally, hats off to Ram V. And it made me shed a tear at the very end. This is the book for me. I love it, and there's not many books I will reread, and this will be one that I will come to again and again and again. And I'm wondering if you'll be surprised, but I am literally giving this a 10 out of 10. This is my 10.
Wow.
There we go.
Nice. I'm so glad you like it.
Thanks. Me too. But okay, so we've got some. We've got 2 scores and opinions to read out from people who couldn't make it. So one from Liam. He said, "Wow, what a book this was. The art and colors were beautiful and unique. The story was emotional and insightful. I'd have liked to have seen Layla/Death develop relationships with the spirits and such more. But I also get that their purpose was to teach or guide Layla at that point in time. I just felt this approach made some points feel rushed, but I think that that's my only real criticism." And he gives it a 9 out of 10. We also had someone message us on Facebook. A guy called Brian.
Hey, Brian.
He I think he watches us, but he never comments or whatever. So if he's watching this, great. Hi, thank you very much. He says, "I really enjoyed this series. I felt it was trying to represent the different ways to deal with death or the different phases of grief, like anger or acceptance. After reading the full series, I can only give it a 10 out of 10. It really pulls everything together so well."
You make Brian up. As Brian
He's right there.
Brian is Scott's second Facebook page.
He's right there. There we go. So all the scores are in. So with everyone on the herd, with your average score, you've given us an 8.2.
What about Martin's score?
Oh, sorry, I didn't read Martin. Sorry. Martin said, "I really enjoyed this. I like the spiritual concept and the emotional journey that Layla goes through. The psychedelic art was cool, and I like the use of colors. It's an 8 from me." I have already written down this score. So with everyone's score, we get an 8.2. Adding that to Phil's 5.5, Shane's 6, and my 10, we get an average of 7.4. I think it just makes a top 10. We'll see. Here it is.
For now.
It's joint 8th with Supergirl Book 1. There we go.
Should it be a life score to put it in that position, though, just to have it?
No, Supergirl was there first, and Supergirl is an actual spiritual book.
And that's the rules anyway. If it's there first, then whatever comes next goes next. So there we go. So we will be on the top spot of the next part of the leaderboard. I'll take that. But there we go. So before we tell you what we've got coming up next week, we would like to tell you what we've got coming up for the rest of this week on the Nerd Herd channel. First of all, tomorrow night at 7 o'clock, as usual, we have Kevin's draw along.
I'm excited.
He wanted to
excited.
keep with the Ram V theme, but he didn't want to draw anything from Laila Starr, so he decided to try and teach everyone how to draw Venom. Look at that. That's really cool. So if that interests any of you, you want to either see how he does it or you want to learn from him to draw like him, then go ahead. That will be live, not live, but it'll be available to view at 7 p.m. Tomorrow night, Thursday. And then on Friday, Philip and I, unfortunately, Shane won't be able to make it, but we will be doing a halfway show talking about everything that we've done so far for this season, and we'll update the overall leaderboard for every single book we've ever read as well. So we'll be showing you that, and we'll be having some nice little stats here and there like we did for the end of the season show last year. But did we agree a time? Harper State?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah,
Have it.
Harper State on Friday. We'll get it put on the channel right away tonight, and that's it. So let's just let you know what we've got coming up next week, and then I can go. I'm joking. Okay, here we go. Here we go. It's Shane's pick this week. Shane, for the podcast listeners, what are we talking about next week?
Next week, we'll be reading Resident Alien Volume 1 from 2012. Was it 2012? From Dark Horse Comics.
Nice. Yes. Haven't read the book, haven't watched the show. I'm looking forward to seeing how this goes.
Me too. Yes, I love the show. That's why I picked the book. I tend to watch a show before I pick a book. So I do it the wrong way round. So I'm hoping this is as good as the TV show.
Only one way to find out. I'm going to read the book, and we'll see you all next week then. Only one thing left to do now. Get your waves out. See ya.
Bye.
Bye. Bye, everyone. Love you.